Welcome to a journey back in time, long before Rome, long before Greece, even before Egypt raised its great pyramids. We're traveling to a land called Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. Here, more than 5,000 years ago, humanity laid the foundations of civilization itself, writing, law, cities, and empires. In this story, we'll walk through the rise and fall of the great powers of the ancient Near East. The Sumerians, the Akkadian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Assyrian Empire, and the Hittite Empire. So close your eyes, settle in, and let's step back into the world's first cradle of civilization. The Sumerians imagined standing in the vast plains of southern Mesopotamia around 4000 BCE. The land is harsh, hot sun, flooding rivers, yet fertile. Here, the first cities rise. The Sumerians are the pioneers of civilization. They invent irrigation canals to tame the rivers. They build city-states: Uruk, Ur, Lagash, Eridu. Each city has a towering temple called a ziggurat reaching toward the gods. Most importantly, they invent something revolutionary: writing. At first, it's just marks pressed into clay to track grain. But soon, it becomes cuneiform, the world's first script. With it, they record myths like the Epic of Gilgamesh, laws, and trade. Sumerian society is ruled by priest-kings who claim divine support. They organize armies, dig canals, and trade with faraway lands. Yet, the city-states often fight one another, weakening themselves. Still, their legacy is unmatched. The wheel, mathematics based on 60, why we have 60 minutes in an hour, and the first written literature. The Sumerians built the blueprint of civilization itself. But eventually, a new power rises from the north, the world's first true empire, the Akkadian Empire, around 2330 BCE. A man named Sargon of Akkad changes history. He begins as a cupbearer, a servant in the Sumerian city of Kish. But through ambition and brilliance, he seizes power and unites the fractious city-states under his rule. He founds the Akkadian Empire, the first empire in recorded history. Sargon's empire stretches from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. He builds roads, standardizes weights, and spreads the Akkadian language, which will dominate the region for centuries. But empire comes at a cost. Constant warfare and uprisings strain the Akkadians. Climate change, a series of droughts, weakens their farms. Invaders, the Gutians, sweep down from the mountains. By 2150 BCE, the great Akkadian Empire collapses. Yet its legacy lives on. The idea of empire, of one ruler controlling vast lands and diverse peoples, began here with Sargon. And from its ashes, one city will rise to shine even brighter: Babylon, the Babylonian Empire. Picture the city of Babylon, around 1792 BCE. Rising above its walls is a ziggurat so massive it may have inspired the story of the Tower of Babel. At its heart rules a king named Hammurabi. Hammurabi is remembered for one of history's greatest achievements, the Code of Hammurabi, a set of nearly 300 laws carved into stone It covers everything from trade to marriage to justice. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It's from here. Under Hammurabi, Babylon flourishes as a center of culture, science, and astronomy. Priests chart the stars, laying the foundations of later astrology. Farmers thrive under regulated canals. Merchants trade goods across the ancient world. But like all empires, Babylon rises and falls. After Hammurabi's death, the empire weakens. For centuries, Babylon is conquered by neighbors, yet its name never fades. Later, under Nebuchadnezzar II, in the 6th century BCE, Babylon rises again with the legendary Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the world. The city becomes a symbol of grandeur, but also of human pride. In time, Babylon too will fall, conquered by the Persians. But its name echoes through history, even into the Bible. Meanwhile, another empire, cruel and powerful, is sharpening its swords in the north. The Assyrian Empire. If Babylon was a city of law and learning, the Assyrians were a people of iron and conquest. From their heartland around the city of Assur, they rise around 900 BCE as a military powerhouse. They perfect the art of siege warfare, battering rams, towers, and psychological terror. Their kings, Ashurbanipal II, Tiglath-Pileser III, Sennacherib, Ashurbanipal, carve out the largest empire the world had yet seen. From Egypt to Persia, they conquer with brutality. Entire cities are destroyed, populations deported. The Assyrians rule through fear, yet they are not only warriors. King Ashurbanipal builds the world's first great library at Nineveh, gathering thousands of clay tablets, preserving Sumerian and Babylonian knowledge. Without it, much of Mesopotamian literature might have been lost. But cruelty breeds enemies. In 612 BCE, a coalition of Babylonians and Medes rises against Assyria. Nineveh is burned to the ground. The once invincible empire vanishes almost overnight. Still, their military innovations, iron weapons, cavalry, siege engines influence armies for centuries. As Assyria falls, another ancient power, the Hittites, makes its mark on the Near East. The Hittite Empire. Far to the northwest, in Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, the Hittites rise around 1600 BCE. They are among the first to master ironworking, giving them weapons stronger than bronze. The Hittites clash with both Egypt and Mesopotamian powers. In fact, one of history's first recorded peace treaties comes from the Hittites and the Egyptians. After the famous Battle of Kadesh against Pharaoh Ramses II, from the Sumerians, who invented writing, to Sargon's Akkadians, who built the first empire, to the glory of Babylon, the iron might of the Assyrians, and the diplomacy of the Hittites, the ancient Near East gave us the foundations of civilization. Empires rose and fell, but their legacies live on in our laws, our stories, our science, even our very sense of what it means to build a society. When we look at Mesopotamia and the Near East, we are not just looking at ruins of the past. We are looking at the birthplace of the world we live in today. Their empire stretches across Anatolia, Syria, and Mesopotamia, controlling key trade routes. They are skilled diplomats as well as warriors, balancing alliances and rivalries. But by 1200 BCE, the Hittites vanish in the great mystery known as the Bronze Age collapse, when many ancient civilizations fell to invaders, famine, and upheaval. Though forgotten for centuries, the rediscovery of their language and archives in the 20th century revealed a powerful empire that once rivaled Egypt and Babylon.